Hi there and welcome back to my channel. This is Sean, the Honest Book Reviewer. This video is June in review. All the books I read for the month of June, from the first book to the last book. Like previous month in review videos, I'll provide a brief synopsis of each book and provide little insights on what I did like or didn't like about each of them. I won't go into great detail on the books because I will have longer review videos of each book mentioned in this video. Some will already be on my channel and some in the future. If you're interested in those videos, subscribe and watch out for them. Let's get started for the first book in June. Murder at Maple Grange, written by Jane Bettany. It's a cozy mystery. It's book 3 in the Violet Brewster mystery series. It was an arc read for me in June. Now I enjoyed this. The mystery's strong. Not the strongest mystery I've read, but it's strong enough. I enjoyed the investigation and the lead up to the confrontation between our hero Violet and the villain. That confrontation wasn't the best in my view, not at all. I think it could have been done better. But that investigation was good and it was fun. And there are some fun characters in this story. When I think about books in a series, now this book being the third book, I expect development and growth in the main characters. In this series, there hasn't been that so far. The main character just feels stuck in what she was in the first book. So despite the mysteries being good, the development's not there. There are great characters in this story though, just that the main character I think should be stronger and have more growth and development. But overall I enjoyed it, but I do like British village mysteries. There's something about it, whether I'm reading them, watching on TV. That British village mystery really calls out to me. I enjoy them, I love the feel they give, I like the characters you meet, I like the setting. So I think this book really meets that. The Girl in the Ice, written by Robert Bryndza. It's a mystery thriller, and the first book to feature protagonist, Detective Erica Foster. I enjoyed this book a lot. It surprised me, I didn't know what to expect, but it's fantastic. It's got great characters, especially the protagonist, Erica. Fantastic. Amazing character. I can't fault the character at all. And other characters in this book are just as strong. And what I like about this, it's a book where you have no wasted characters. Every character has a purpose. Every character is so well written. They all make sense. If you take one character out, the book may fail. And I enjoy books like that. I enjoy where authors take great care with all their characters and they only invest time in characters that are there for a purpose. Some books you read and some minor characters, you could take those minor characters out and not impact the story at all. In this book, take those minor characters out and the book may fail. I enjoy this a lot. What I enjoy about the protagonist Erica is her history is so inbuilt into who the character is in the present day. And it all makes sense. Everything about her makes sense. I just love it. This book is just perfect. The Fellowship of Puzzle Makers, written by Samuel Burr. This book is interesting. It's like a quiet mystery, like a quiet book. You know, those books that aren't loud, they don't rely on great explosions, great scenes, or tension suspense. They don't have thrills and spills in the story. Just a quiet, gentle read. This book is that. I was drawn to this book because it involves puzzles and the people who make them. And I like puzzles, have for many, many years. Number puzzles, word puzzles, jigsaw puzzles, puzzles of any sort I love. And this book has so many characters who make puzzles. They're masters of the craft. But it's not just about that. It's split in two narratives. In the present day narrative, our protagonist, he's in his mid-20s and he wants to find out more about his biological parents. He was adopted by this group of puzzle makers. He was left at the doorstep as a baby. And after his most motherly parental figure in this group passes away, she leaves clues for him in the form of a crossword and other clues. Clues to find more details about his birth parents. So he goes on this journey. And I enjoyed it so much. It is a quiet book. It's quite a slow book as well. But that journey is so heartwarming and heartfelt. The characters are wonderful. It feels like a coming-of-age story, even though the protagonist is in his mid-20s, has that coming-of-age feel in the storyline. But it's just a comfortable read. It's one of those reads where you finish it and you feel happy and warm, because everything in the book has that feeling. I really enjoyed it. I do recommend it, but as I said, it's a quiet book, has no suspense and tension and chills and spills, just a gentle, quiet, warm read. New Moon by Stephenie Meyer. The second book in the Twilight series, and I know the Twilight series has been around forever. I know many people all around the world have read it and watched the movies. I've not read the books before, and I've not seen any of the movies, and after reading all the books, maybe I'll watch the movies, I'm not sure yet. So this second book in the series, what did I think? It's better than the first book. The best thing about this book is Jacob's storyline. His storyline was actually very compelling and very surprising to me because it was so well written. Everything else about the book, not so good. I mean, I don't need a book where most of the book is about the protagonist just falling apart and just keep mentioning this black hole, this hole inside because her vampire boyfriend is taken off and how the world is just dreadful and she spends many, many months thinking about that. And then other things happen in the story, of course, but it is a book where there's no consequences for any of the main characters in the story. No matter what happens, no matter how much danger there may be, there are no negative consequences for those characters. So what are you getting out of the story? I don't know. But Jacob is a character, as I said, very compelling, well written. I really enjoyed his character a lot. The best part of this book, by far. City of Ashes by Cassandra Clare, and I think book 2 in the Mortal Instruments trilogy, the first trilogy anyway. I enjoyed this, and it's my first time reading this series. There is a bit of filler in this story. There are some things about this book I don't enjoy so much, but there are great characters in this story. My favourite character so far is Simon. Simon especially is written very well, and his storyline has so many things in there. He's got so much growth. He's gripping as a character, he's compelling. That part of the story, when he's in those scenes, is wonderful. There are other great characters in this series as well. I mean, there's Luke, great character. Alec and Magnus are great characters as well. Those 4 so far out of the first 2 books are my favourite characters. The protagonist, Clare, I can give and take actually. I'm not too keen on her as a character. There's no growth for her so far in the first 2 books either. And I'm getting a bit tired of just the whole thing with her running into danger all the time, trying to tell other people what to do, like she has all the experience in the story. Then when she's in danger, other people, namely Jace, have to save her. Then we have the romance between Clare and Jace, and in this book, they think they're brother and sister. I mean, everybody's sure they are. But they still have the hots for each other. They still feel like they can't get over each other. They still just want to be together. And that's quite disturbing actually in the story. To have this brother and sister character think they need to have this great romance. And they just think about each other all the time. So for me overall, there are well done things in this story. Some things not so great. But overall, when I compare this series to the Twilight series, this series is much more appealing to me and I think much better written. What Happened to Nina, written by Dervla McTiernan. I didn't really enjoy this book at all, not very much. This book seemed like a cash grab to me. It seems like the author's is ripping that true crime story about Gabby Petito directly from the headlines, twisting it maybe a little bit here and there to convince readers it's different and new. But underneath, you can tell it's about Gabby Petito. You just can. And I don't know how I feel about that. On the one hand, there's many books out there that are influenced by true life things. Of course there are. But I don't know, there's something about this that feels a bit grubby actually. When I read this, there's something about it just doesn't feel right. And then I look at the cover and I think it's one of the worst covers I've ever seen. The cover has no relation to the story. You read the story and nothing about that cover matches. So for me, the worst choice of cover they could have. It means nothing to the story, and I don't know why the marketing team chose that cover. Overall, I didn't really enjoy the story that much. It's quite emotionless. The characters feel flat. There are things in this story, especially towards the end, I don't really enjoy either. I'm not going to go into what that is, but for me, not a great book. And that actually quite surprised me because I read another book from this author maybe a year or so ago, and I really enjoyed that. But for some reason, this book didn't work for me at all. That Night in the Library, written by Eva Jurczyk. It's a horror. I enjoyed this. This was an arc read for me in June. When I started this book, I didn't know what to expect. I'd not read the author before, and I wondered what could happen in a library at night to make it horror. But truly, when the horror starts, it's fast-paced, it's relentless, it's in your face, it's gripping, and I loved it. Also in this book, I enjoyed the introduction about the characters. So the first part of the book is getting to know the characters. We get to know them in great detail. And I like the way that was done because when the action starts, you don't have to waste time about getting to know those characters. You know them already. So the author can take those characters and just make it fast-paced, relentless, just put them in danger all the time, and you already know about them. When they react to things, it makes sense. You're not guessing about them. That was great in this book. And picture the setting in this story. They're in a basement in the library, no windows, so a confined space, no windows. When the door locks, they can't get out, then all the lights go out. So that environment, that enclosed environment in the dark, and then things start happening in the story that heighten emotions, heighten tension and suspense and suspicion. And you have different characters, and they're all different, the characters as well, and they react in different ways. They suspect each other of different things. I enjoyed this a lot, and as I said, it was fast-paced, relentless, and just the way those reactions happen, they felt so real with the characters. A great book in my view. Eclipse by Stephenie Meyer, book 3 in the Twilight series. Not a great book at all. The reason I'm reading these books is because I want to have an informed opinion. For many years, I've heard and read other opinions from many readers out there, whether they like them or they don't like them, and I want to have an informed opinion of my own and finally read them and make up my own mind. So in this book, we take Jacob, who in book 2 had a great storyline. He was compelling and he had this great growth development in that book. This book rips everything away about Jacob that was good. He basically becomes a jerk, and also he just forces himself onto Bella basically all the time in this story. Then we have cringy scenes. So one scene in my mind, Bella, Edward and Jacob are hiding out in the woods, in a tent at night. Bella's in a sleeping bag and she's cold. Edward says because he's a vampire, he's cold-blooded and he can't warm Bella up. And Jacob says, I'm a werewolf, I run hot, I can warm her up. So he jumps in the sleeping bag with Bella, and then Edward and Jacob spend over a chapter discussing who can best convince Bella to like them the most. It's very cringy, and during that whole scene, Bella's like half asleep and thinking she's dreaming, and it's a wonderful dream. These two characters are talking about her and almost fighting over her with their words, their lovely words, how much they love her and adore her. It's such a great dream for her. That was so cringy in this book. There are other scenes in this book almost as bad. That was the worst, I think. And then we have this conflict, a great conflict in the story. But like other conflicts in the series so far, nothing happens. There's no consequences for our main characters. So you already know they're going to be safe. What's the point of the conflict if there's no question about that in the story? What are they earning in the story? I don't know. So for me, not a great book. And I understand I'm not the target audience for these books, but I do want to read the series. I want to read all of them and make up my own mind. The Body in the Bookstore, written by Ellie Alexander. A cozy mystery. The first book in a secret bookcase mystery series. An arc read for me in June. I enjoyed this. It's a small town mystery and I love small town mysteries. The small town setting was described so well. The characters all feel small town to me. And what I also liked about this book is the mystery themed book festival going on. It was wonderful. It brought more elements to the book. Just made everything just more interesting and intriguing. I just love that angle in the story. This series, I think, is a great bookish series. If you like bookstores, if you like libraries, if you like reading in general, I think you'll like this series. Protagonist is a great protagonist for a cozy mystery series. The other characters are wonderful. Everything about this book ticks so many boxes for me, and I can't wait to read more books in this series. And in June, I read this book and the second book. A Murder at the Movies, written by Ellie Alexander. A cozy mystery, and book 2 in a secret bookcase mystery series. An arc read for me in June as well. So the first 2 books in this series were both released on the same day in June. I enjoyed this a lot. Another small town mystery, and I love small town settings in mysteries. Great characters just like the first book. Some new characters coming in and they were wonderful as well. Even though I enjoyed this book a lot, I have one small concern. It's a small town setting and the first 2 books revolve around festivals. How many festivals can you have in a small town? So the first book, we had that book festival going on. In this book, it's a movie festival, a low-key movie festival, but it's still a festival. And in both books, we have a great focus on outside characters. In small town settings sometimes, I do prefer when the focus is on characters who live in the small town or just around that area. And I wonder what's going to happen in future books in this series. Will we have books to just focus on people living in the small town or the outside area? Or is every book going to have this big festival theme with outside characters coming in and playing prominent roles in the story? I hope there's a mixture. I don't mind that we have outside characters coming in sometimes, but I hope that sometimes the main focus is just on local characters. Multiple Exposure, written by Alan Crosby, a mystery thriller and the first book to feature protagonist Sophie Medina. This book starts with a great hook, but slowly starts to unravel. At the start of the book, we have a protagonist going home. She finds her husband missing. There's blood everywhere in the house, but he's gone. Nobody knows where he is. And we find out then that he works for the CIA. Now all that is gripping, it's chilling, it's compelling, and it opens up many questions. Then we jump forward, and I think we jump forward maybe 8 or 9 months or so, and Sophie is approached by somebody, and this person tells her that her husband is still alive and shows her a photo. It says the photo was taken just a few weeks ago maybe. But then the book starts to unravel a little bit. Things get too easy for our protagonist, who moves back to the US, gets a new job, and somehow finds herself in the middle of some mystery, some spy mystery it seems. It is still somewhat interesting in that middle section of the story, but towards the end there's this confrontation that happens, and that just felt just too madcap to me. It felt really unusual in the way it was structured, and I wonder what other readers would think if they read this book. But I kind of enjoyed it enough to want to read more in the series, and I think there may be 4 or 5 books in the series so far. I want to find out what happens next, because what happens towards the end of the story. The Gathering, written by CJ Tudor. I enjoyed this a lot. It's a horror. It's a vampire horror, but not just any old vampire horror. This is a vampire murder mystery, and also a cold case mystery built into the book as well. The setting in this book is wonderful. A small town setting in Alaska. I think about population 800 and something, but it says 800 and something living population. And nearby this small town is a vampire-like community. And the people in this small town are scared of the vampires. And in this world the authors created, the existence of vampires has been known for decades, maybe even centuries. And humanity has been pushing vampires out of their territories time and time again. And the vampires in this world are different from vampires from other stories. For one, they're not immortal. When vampires die from natural causes, it's a very slow and painful death. Also, because there's so many humans in the world and not many vampires in comparison, vampires are the weaker and endangered species on Earth. They may be on top of the food chain in senses of strength and things like that, but humanity has developed weapons and things like that that can combat all those things that vampires have that are better developed or evolved than humans. So in this world, vampires may be stronger in some ways, but overall, humans are stronger. Also in this world, vampires can't get jobs. They can't go to school. They can't earn money. So what do? They struggle. They struggle to survive, and this world the authors created feels so real. Even though it's got vampires, it feels so real. And it's down to the way the characters are written in the story. It's also down to the history we're given about the world in this book. Everything in this book feels real. So basically this book follows a character who's a detective, but also an expert on vampire crime. She goes to this small town because they discovered a teenage boy's body, and it appears this teenage boy was killed by a vampire. She has to investigate and rule whether it was a vampire or not. So the people in this town are highly prejudiced against vampires, and they want a cull. They want to just go into this vampire community that's nearby and just kill vampires left, right and centre. That's what they want. And they're pressuring our protagonist to rule to do that. There's so many tensions going on in this story between vampires and humans, and within the humans in this small town as well. There's a cold case in this book as well. The cold case has links to the present day case, has links to other characters in the town. There's so much going on in this story, many layers. It's very interesting. It's a great tale, I think. I really enjoyed this a lot. City of Glass, written by Cassandra Clare. Book 3 in the Mortal Instruments. Book 3 of that first trilogy. I enjoyed this. It's better written than the first 2 books, not as much filler, and the storylines of a few key characters was wonderful. We have Simon, Luke, Alec, Magnus and Isabella all have great storylines in this book. all fantastic. And it's great to see Isabella as well having a great storyline, because in the first 2 books she didn't. But in this book she stands out so much as a character as just wonderful. And Simon still is my favourite character in this series, but the thing that happened to Simon in this book, and also the first 2 books, I mean, what else can happen to one character in a trilogy? So much happens to him. It feels so unfair. It feels like the author was picking on him in the stories. But I like him as a character. His development in this book especially just shows strength of character and care in his construction as well. I really like how he's written. And I like how Luke's written in this story as well. And I do like how Alec is written. Those 2 characters, Luke and Alec, they have so much care and compassion in their storylines. Great choices in what they're doing in the story by the author, but really carefully written, I think, to bring out the best of them. And especially Alec, with Alec's storyline with Magnus, that was so well done in this book. And Valentine, the big baddie in this book, well, he's better in this book than the first 2 books. But the confrontation between him and somebody else in the story, I won't tell you who that was, but that confrontation was badly done in my view. Should have been done differently. I can understand why it was done like that in the story, but for me, as a reader, not the best choice. Wasn't that great? But overall, the best book in the trilogy, and I'm so glad I'm reading these books because I'm enjoying them. I'm enjoying them more than I thought I would. The Cuckoo's Calling, written by Robert Galbraith, the first book in the Cormoran Strike series. I like this book a lot. It's fantastic. It feels like a classic Golden Age mystery. Everything about this is wonderful. It's slow burn, so if you don't like slow burn mysteries, not for you. It's character driven. If you don't like character driven mysteries, not for you. But this is another book where every character is needed. Every character in the book has a purpose. They all make sense. Take one character out, even smaller characters, the book may fail. The 2 main characters in this book, Cormoran and Robin, are wonderful. Cormoran is a great construction in this story, a great protagonist. I really enjoyed him. He's so compelling in the story, so intriguing and engaging. I want to focus more on Robin though. We meet Robin first off. She comes into work for Cormoran as a secretary receptionist for 1 week as a temporary employee. After that first week, he extends her stay for a few more weeks. And during that time, you get to see them both kind of work each other out. They feel each other out, and you witness that in their thoughts, and you see that in their body language and their dialogue. It's really great to see the way it's written. Robin as a character just almost becomes alive more in the story the longer she's working for Cormoran in the book. I liked it. Robin really was engaging and compelling as a character. And I can't wait to see what happens in future books in this series. I can just picture them both getting closer as characters and working together on cases. And I really liked the times in this story where Cormoran agreed to take Robin with him when he's investigating something. You see Robin become elated in the story because of that. And those moments were really special, I think, in the book. Knee High by the 4th of July, written by Jess Lourey, book 3 in the Murder by Month series. Now, I thought this was a cozy mystery series when I started reading it, but it's not. It's a romance comedy series. Think Janet Ivanovich, something like that. But anyway, this book, not the best for me. The mystery is not the strongest, still okay, not the strongest, but out of the 3 books so far read in this series, it's my least favourite. Mainly because the protagonist just acts irrationally all through the story, or most of the story anyway. That's because she thinks the chief of police is going to think she's guilty of a crime for one little thing. But it's very irrational, and I don't get it, and there's so much in the story just driven from that moment, from those thoughts, and it spends a lot of pages in the book just going over that time and time again. It feels repetitive, and when it's something that's so irrational, it doesn't make sense why it's done so many times in the book. Put that aside, the mystery is okay. You can't get many suspects with this mystery though, because it's very specific and very unusual. So you can't just go pointing fingers at anybody else in the town, only a few people. So it limits suspects and red herrings in the story. And also in this book, we have so many characters that are just over quirky. I like the small town setting, I like small town mysteries. But when every character is over quirky, and I mean over quirky, way over, it just ruins those characters a bit because they become too unrealistic. Not every character in a book needs to be written in that way. I'll read more in this series because I'm invested now, and the mysteries are strong enough to want to keep reading. I mean, the mysteries, if the rest of the book was written differently, it'd be better because I do enjoy parts of the mysteries very much. Scrublands, written by Chris Hammer, a mystery. The first book to feature protagonist Martin Scarsden. This book would be better if it had less. In some cases, less is better. This has too much packed into the mystery, just way too much. Too many different angles, too many things happen in a short time in this very small community in outback rural Australia. This mystery is also set in a drought. So there's so many mystery books in Australia that are set in small outback or rural areas in drought. Not sure why that is. I think it's because if they're set in a drought, people can act in different ways, in extreme or irrational ways, and you can blame it on drought. You can blame high emotions on drought. You can blame anger on drought. Drought, I think, can be used as a character in some ways in a story. And so many mystery and crime writers, when they're writing Australian settings, seem to include drought. There's so many of them. But back to this story, it packs so much in. You know those Netflix true crime documentary series, when it has kooky and offbeat things going on right through every episode? And with every episode, you have so many moments where you just sit back and think, what the? So many times. That's like this book. There are many moments that are surprising. Some are good. But every time something happens, you sit back and you think, well, what the? Did this really happen in this story? So it feels like that to me. And sometimes it's just too much. There's too much in there. It becomes too convoluted. I couldn't get to the end of this book and believe all those different threads were able to become part of the one puzzle. This doesn't feel real to me, not real enough. And also in this story, the main character is going to this small town because it's a 1-year anniversary of a mass shooting event. And in Australia, crimes like that are very rare. And after 1 year, 1-year anniversary, every media outlet in Australia will be covering it. They'll be there all over the place. It wouldn't have just one journalist being there and nobody else. It wouldn't happen like that. That felt strange to me as well. A Chocolate War, written by Robert Cormier. It's a YA book. Many people rate this book as one of the best YA books ever. For me, not so much. There are scenes in here that are ludicrous. I don't think it's that well written. I think themes in this story are good. It's got themes of corruption, greed, inequalities of power, people standing up to power as well, peer pressure, important themes in a story, especially for young readers. But I just don't like the scenes that are over the top, and I don't like some of the writing style in this book. I think this book is popular because it caused controversy at different times. If you strip away that controversy, I don't think many readers would even know about this story. That's my thoughts anyway. Would I recommend this as a book that everybody should read? Well, no, I wouldn't. I don't think it's that important. I don't think it's that well written. Especially the scene at the end. There's a big scene at the end. It's about a boxing match between 2 high school students. It's ridiculous. It's there for shock value, nothing else. And in my view, that scene just adds nothing to the overall story. Ice Station by Matthew Reilly. This is an action book, think blockbuster action. It's the first book to feature protagonist Shane Schofield, or he's also known by his call sign name of Scarecrow. This book wants to be action movies from 80s and 90s, so think Rambo, Terminator, Die Hard, Under Siege, even think Jaws. Take all those movies and just ramp them up maybe 3 or 4 times, you have this book. It's action on a huge scale. It doesn't pretend to be anything else. It's just action. It's fast-paced, huge scenes, but it is exciting. I enjoyed it. It's one of those books where you can sit back and just read it. Also in this story, there are characters that have depth, which surprised me. I didn't expect those characters to exist in a story like this, but they do. The main character has depth. Some people in his Marine team have depth. Other characters, not so much. But I was surprised by the characters in this story and what they brought to the story. I thought it was well done, and I liked getting to know them in the story. I did like the action scenes, even though no scene in the story is centered in reality at all. I enjoyed it. I had fun with it. And I can't wait to read more in this series. I can see why people who love action books love this book. because it provides so much action. It just provides relentless action from a certain part in the story. It has many surprises. It has twists and turns in there as well. So it is a cleverly structured book. It's not just all action and nothing else. There seems to be thought behind it as well. In my view, very cleverly done. And I really want to read more action books in the future. It's not my go-to read at all, but I want to read more. Unsolved, written by James Patterson and David Ellis. It's a mystery thriller. It's book 2 in the Invisible series. Now, even though I enjoyed this book, I can't help but think the main case in this story, there are 2 cases in this book, but the main case just feels like it's a rip-off of the case in book 1. They took that plot, they tweaked it a little bit, shoved it in book 2, and just tried to tell readers it's new. It makes me wonder if they intended to write a sequel to book 1 in the first place. Maybe book 1 was popular, and they thought, well, why not? Let's see how book 2 goes. I don't think there's more books in this series. I think this is the last book in the series. And the growth in the character, the protagonist, has great growth in book 1. That's all forgotten and rewound in book 2. She's back to square one with other characters in this story, and it follows the same pattern, the same path as book 1. She has to convince people she's on the trail of a secret and hidden serial killer in the US. Nobody else knows this person exists, but she does. Nobody believes her. Then eventually they do. They start to investigate, they find out she's right. Then they go on the manhunt, just like book 1. I can see why there's no book 3, because how can you do that again? How can you take that same plot and put it in a third book and make it feel fresh and new? You can't. So in my view, the book itself on its own is interesting and intriguing. Not as much as book 1 was, and because it feels like almost a direct rip-off from book 1, my rating went down because of it. Grace by Paul Lynch, an historical book set during the potato famine in Ireland. This is a very grim and dark read. It follows the main character, Grace. She's thrown out of home around age 14. Her mother cuts off all her hair, tells her she's a strong one now, and throws her out. Tells her to go, earn some money, then come back later on. She goes out into the world, firstly with her brother, and then by herself. And this becomes a story of struggle and survival. Through her eyes, we see a country on its knees. The whole country is struggling. It just seems like the whole country is slowly dying. And Grace somehow manages to keep making it through. She has struggles, she has troubles, she gets into dangerous situations at times, she makes friends, she makes enemies, but she always manages to get through. So in some ways, this story is also a story about hope. But it's a hope that's hard-won, I think. Grace has to earn everything in this story. So those parts of the story are good. What I didn't enjoy in this book is some choices in the writing style. Firstly, no quotation marks in dialogue. I don't like that at all. Understand it's a style choice. I don't like it. I don't see the point of it. And then the author also drops some words from sentences here and there. Tries to clip sentences. But it takes out words that need to be there, in my view, to make sentences easier to read. They flow more if you keep those words in. So that also annoyed me in this story. I understand that the author's making style choices, but why do that? Why make these choices that interrupt flow when you read a story? It doesn't make sense to me. Write a good book, and this book is a good book, but then just give us a flowing style so all readers can enjoy it. Because the more you play around with structure and form in a book, you will alienate some readers. There you have all the books I read in June, from the first book to the last book. I wonder, have you read any of these books, and what did you think? Do you want to read any of these books now? I've mentioned them in this video. Let me know. What were your favourite reads for June? Let me know those as well. I'm always going to look out for recommendations. Doesn't mean I can read those books straight away. I'll put them on my TBR, but we'll get to them eventually. On my channel, I review books from all different genres. Check out my channel and subscribe. On the screen now is a link to another video for a book I'm sure you'll enjoy.